Hi everyone, so good to see you. And how's it going so far? Are we having a good time? Yeah? Okay, good. So like Matt said, this is a very different part of the day today. We've had the e-commerce insight, so thank you to everyone who's done that. This is more about you. Okay, so we've had it about e-commerce, we've heard about how to optimize your organization and your company, but now it's about you as an individual. Okay, so just for context, I'm a public speaking coach, and last year I did a workshop for Rusty Monkey. So I helped Emma and Russ with their public speaking skills, and they thought, hey, come on over and try and share some of these tips with people in the audience today. So like Matt said, you might be encountering some public speaking of your own, and whether you're on the tech side of things or on the brand side of things, one thing is for sure, and that is that being able to speak confidently will only help you. So it'll help you in your career, in your team, in your organization, and probably also in your personal life, because we do it a lot more than we think. So I am going to talk to you about confidence, because confidence is a buzzword that we use a lot. And also, if I walk around too much, please let me know. Okay. It's a buzzword that we use a lot, but what does it actually mean? And is it something we can build? Spoiler alert, yes. And I will tell you all about it. And confidence isn't built by me just talking at you for 30 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna try and make this as interactive as possible. So I'd love for you to join me in on the conversation. And does everyone have like a notepad? You know, the souvenirs, thank you. So if you have that, then feel free to grab it along with your pen, because you're gonna need it later. Cool, okay, everybody good? Everybody pumped? Okay, I'm gonna make it interactive already with the first slide. So this is the name of my business that Matt was struggling with, okay? Can we try saying these three letters out loud? Emily. Which sounds like my name, Emily. Oh my gosh. So I studied English language and literature at university. So I love quirky little things, stories, anything to do with language and metaphors. And the thing about MLE is that it's kind of a metaphor or a story in itself. It only makes sense when you say it out loud. And that's the same with public speaking. I think sometimes things only make sense when we say it out loud, or we can only, really feel confident when we say it out loud. We create new meanings together. And for me, this is a whole journey in itself, but I'm just trying to empower you to speak up a little bit more, whatever that means to you. But it would be good to get a little bit of a sense check as to how people feel about public speaking and presenting in general. So, another interactive exercise for you. I'm going to read out some statements, and if you agree with it, you put your hand up. And if you kind of agree with it, you can keep it down a little bit. And if you don't agree with it, you can leave it down. Okay? So let's start with the first one. I get nervous when I present. And I'm going to put my hand up. Okay, so just take a look around the room and realize how normal nerves are. Great. Okay. I do this for a living, and I still get nervous. I'm a little bit jittery right now. Okay, what about, does anyone like presenting? Do you like public speaking? Yeah, okay. So see how nerves and public speaking and still liking it can coexist? Yeah, it's an interesting space. Then we have, next one. Where are we? There we go. I actively seek out opportunities to present. Are you proactive about seeking opportunities to present? Okay, so we see how it's going down a little bit. And maybe that's because we don't really back ourselves that much, or we don't want to put our hand up. But I'm hoping that by the end of this, we feel a little bit more empowered to speak up and be a bit more brave. So confidence, okay. If I were to tell you that you had to come up here and speak, would you feel confident speaking in front of this group? Okay. Oh, this is a very safe space. This is a very nice space. Okay, cool. I'm not going to get anyone to come up and speak, so don't worry. But I am glad that we have created a space where people feel comfortable to do that. So thank you to the Rusty Monkey team. Okay. I'm going to tell you about a time where I was incredibly nervous, but I also realized I like public speaking. And from then on, I began to actively seek out opportunities, and I felt more confident. So basically, a time where I felt all of the above. So taking me back to 2022, I'm 21 years old in my final year of university. At this point, I'm the kind of person who's too shy to ask for ketchup at a restaurant. But I do see that there is a TEDx conference running at my university. and there's a slot for a student. So I thought I'm going to apply because the theme was Beyond Frontiers. And that immediately made me think of my parents, because both of my parents are immigrants. In fact, my dad was a refugee. So I thought, I want to share their stories. This is bigger than me. So I applied, I won, all great, had to prepare the speech. Here I am speaking in front of 800 people at the Oxford Town Hall. And I was so nervous, okay? My knees were buckling and my heart rate was through the roof. It was the scariest thing I have ever done, but also my proudest moment, also the most empowering, also the bravest. And I think sometimes the moments that are negative can often also come with something positive. I don't know if you've also had that in your life. And essentially, that's the kind of transformation that I hope to inspire in other people. And I will take you with me. A little bit about me. E-commerce is not a stranger for me. So I worked 2 years for Big Commerce, who's also sponsoring this conference. So I know a lot of people here. And I worked there for 2 years, and I would raise my hand to do keynotes and presentations, and I would try to help my seniors with their presentations. And I noticed that being able to speak can actually help you in career a lot. It'll help with your internal and external reputation. But a lot of my colleagues didn't feel that way. They didn't love public speaking. So I thought, outside of my normal job duties, I'm going to try and just help them a little bit. I'm going to do some coaching, I'm going to do some workshops, and whoopsie, realized I love that way more than the other job. So in this economy, I decided to leave that job to pursue my own thing, and that's what I've been doing ever since. And these are some of the wonderful people that I've had the chance to work with. A lot of them are in the e-com space. We have Voyado as well. They did one with me, which is great. And you can see that there's some people here who are probably a bit too young to be doing corporate jobs. And that's because half of my work is dedicated to social impact. So every workshop I do funds one for a charity, and specifically, usually refugees or asylum seekers in London, which is a place very close to my heart. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to Rusty Monkey and everyone who's supporting me, because you're also supporting more than just your own team. A little bit of applause for that. Thank you. Okay, whew, enough yapping, enough about me. This is about you. We're going to talk about confidence. We're going to unpack it together. And this is where you can slowly get out your pens, because we're going to be doing some preparation tips. We're going to talk about mindset. And then hopefully, if we have time, we're going to do a little bit of practices as well. I'm going to start off with this little figure of an iceberg. So imagine that confidence is an iceberg. There's a part that you see, and then there's a part that's hidden underneath the surface. I want to start off with the part that you see. So I'm just going to ask the room now, if you imagine a confident speaker, what are some of the traits that makes that speaker look confident? So what are some of the characteristics, things that you would see on the surface? Emma?
Eye contact.
Eye contact is a big one. What else? The pace of delivery, hopefully, controlled, not too fast, not too slow. What else? Someone over here?
I was going to say smiling.
Smiling, yes. Energy, positivity. Thais?
Clear pronunciation.
Yes. Pronunciation, enunciation, being articulate. Anything else?
No ums and ahs.
Yes. Not so many filler words, perhaps. Less hesitation. Very good. I feel like a teacher. Okay, Alistair.
Standing tall.
Yes, posture. Posture is an important one as well. Imagine if I came in and I was hidden behind here the whole time and you could barely hear what I was saying. Okay, anything else? I think you've pretty much nailed it. Eye contact, posture, also projection, right? Being able to hear me in the back. Because if I don't speak loud enough, you won't be able to hear me. And I might have amazing things to say, but if you can't hear me, then what's the point? Okay, let's talk about the work that goes on behind the scenes. What has this person done to feel confident and look confident on the day? Expertise, so knowledge. Okay, very good. What else? Preparation. Preparation is a big one. And for me, I would say like 70% of my confidence comes from preparation and practice. Anything else? Experience, that's very good. Persona? Okay, tell me more.
So if you want to be confident to present, and I'm like introvert, but to present you need to be extrovert. So build an extrovert persona and use it in the stage.
I see. Yeah, I think in some ways, and I don't know if, some people who've done drama at school tend to be quite good at public speaking. And I think I almost do, take on a type of persona that is Emily speaking now. And if you've met me upstairs, or if you meet me later, I'm not going to speak like this the entire time to you, because it can be a little bit theatrical. So yeah, I can see that if that's a helpful way to look at it, especially if you are someone who's a bit on the shyer side or not very comfortable being the center of attention, that's quite helpful. Anything else? Belief, tell me more.
If you're up there and you believe in what you're saying and what you're able to obviously present, then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess if you're going to go up on stage and you didn't actually believe in the cause or the thing that you're talking about, then, I mean, don't get me wrong, some people probably good at lying through it.
Yeah.
Politics. But there is like a hidden sense of belief, isn't there?
100%. And that is the perfect segue. It's almost as if you've read my slide, because I think that step number 1 is feeling like you have something valuable to share. So actually thinking that what you're about to say is interesting to people, because if you don't believe it, then how the hell are you going to make other people believe it too? So definitely agree. That's step number 1. After that, I think a clear message and structure is essential. Because right now I could, for example, tell you why you should go and visit Japan, which is one of my favorite countries in the world. And I could literally give you 1,001 reasons to visit. But if I do that, then you'll just feel overwhelmed and you'll probably not feel as compelled. You might not remember any of them. None of them might stick. But if I instead focus on 3 points, or maybe just 1 point, that might leave a lasting impression and have a really clear memory for you. Okay, what else? After that, this is someone I'm talking about expertise and knowledge, like really knowing and understanding your topic is extremely important. Especially a lot of us, we're working in technical spaces, so maybe there's insecurities in the way that you have around your platform, or you have very technical details in your work. But if you actually understand it and understand how the platform works, or different features and functionalities, don't you find that it's easier to actually explain in your own words? So if you are doing a presentation and suddenly you lose your track of thought, or maybe the slide doesn't make as much sense to you in the moment, at least you know what you're talking about, so you can just rephrase it. You can think of it in a different way, because it's just your knowledge and you can repurpose that. Make sense? Cool. After that, we've got practice and preparation. Again, 70% of my confidence comes from this, like actually just being able to do a quick run through will make a massive difference, because you'll see, oh wait, that slide doesn't go well here, or oh, I already said that before, I don't need to say that again. But I don't know what it is. A lot of us think we can just wing it, and we probably can, but we'll do a much better job if we at least do 1 run through, I promise you. Then we've got experience, which both comes from the actual industry knowledge, but also experience of public speaking. So let's say you're someone who has never ever spoken up in a meeting. How are you gonna feel confident speaking up at a panel or at a keynote? So even those like small incremental developments or changes in feeling brave in the moment and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone can help you become a more confident public speaker. And then finally, we have mindset, which I think is also tied into this person's point about belief and having self-belief. And you won't believe, well, you probably will believe me when I say, but a lot of my one-on-one clients, we almost turn into like little therapy sessions, because public speaking, I don't know what it is, it just awakens some of our deepest like insecurities. Like right now, for example, I'm standing up here as the only person, everybody's looking at me. Some people got resting bitch faces, they look like they could fall asleep, But that's fine. I have been in that position, but it just means that there's constantly thoughts racing like, wait, does my hair look okay? I'm getting photographed and videotaped right now. And some people look like they could snooze. But ultimately, if I think that I'm saying something interesting and important, I'm just gonna be able to tackle that and tackle all of those thoughts. Okay, any thoughts, questions, concerns about this slide? No, it's all amazing and perfect? Yeah? Okay, great. We can go on. The point of this iceberg is essentially to show you that confidence isn't just something you have. It's not inherent, okay? You can build it. And I'm no scientist or mathematician, but I have come up with a little formula, a little framework that I hope will be a catchy way for you to think about it. Essentially, I see confidence as preparation, putting in the work, what are you actually gonna say, how are you gonna structure it, and then your mindset, which is how you think about public speaking, how you think about yourself and the talk. And then finally, practice, PMP. So actually, practicing the delivery, doing a run through, maybe testing out a few fun things with your hand or your posture, the top of the iceberg that people see. And the good news is that you are in control of all of these things. That's the good news. So you will be able to control all of them, and I'm gonna take you through every single step now as quickly as I can. So let's start with preparation. Everyone here has probably sat in on an exam, one time, right? We can go to the exam, we can, if we don't revise, if we don't study, we can do a good job, right? We can show up, we can wing it, we can probably pass, maybe we'll fail. But one thing's for sure, if you had studied and revised, you would definitely do a better job, right? That's the exact same thing with public speaking. And for me, that starts with structure. So I'm gonna invite you now, if you want, if you have a piece of paper, or maybe you can pull out your notes app, I would love for you to choose a prompt to just kind of bear with me as we go through an exercise together of preparing a quick presentation that has nothing to do with work. So just something you'd feel confident like telling a friend about. So do people want to do this? Are people like up for this? Okay, can I get, if you chose number 1, give me like a thumbs up, and if you chose number 2, give me a peace sign, and number 3. So just indicate which number you've picked. Okay, cool, thank you. Do you want to write down in your notes what it is? Because I'm going to switch slide now. Okay, so it could be like a book, a movie you love, a place you want us to visit, or just something random you think everyone should have in their lives, or everyone should try. Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to talk about structure because that is where preparation is key. Some people are able to just eloquently be able to spew out beautiful structure and everything just makes sense the first time they say it. I'm not like that. Some people like to brain dump and then organize their thoughts. I like to have a skeleton. But I'm going to just ask Al, sorry. I'm not going to get you up to present, but can I ask you what you picked?
I picked movie, but I was still trying to think of one.
Okay, that's fine. Not to put you on the spot, that's fine. Is there a movie that comes to mind at all?
There is. There's quite a few. I think the one I would probably go with would be the Peanut Butter Falcon.
The Peanut Butter Falcon. Has anyone seen this movie? Okay, 2 or 3 people. 4, okay. Well, so you're going to have to convince a lot of people to watch this movie. Okay, that's fine. Let's say, and again, I'm not going to get you to come up, but if I said you have to come up here and you have 3 minutes to create a eloquent presentation to convince us to watch this movie, do you think it would be very structured? This is a very leading question. But how structured do you think it would be?
I'm not typically a structured person, so it'll probably be chaos if it's 3 minutes to do it.
Okay. So let's go from chaos to structure together, okay? I'm going to list out some questions, and I want you to write keywords for yourself. Not a novel, just a few keywords. So, number 1, what is your overall message here? So in Al's case, this is not a trick question. In Al's case, this is, you should watch the movie Peanut Butter Falcon. That's it. Is there any context needed? Yeah, maybe it would be great to explain it's a movie, because otherwise I think it's some kind of weird variation on the peanut butter jelly sandwich. But maybe if, can I get another example? Maybe, can I get an example? Which prompt did you choose?
Same one.
Also a movie?
Yeah.
Also
Same
peanut
movie.
butter jelly? No.
No, not the same movie. Hot Fuzz, because we were talking about it over lunch.
Hot Fuzz?
Hot Fuzz.
Okay.
One of the greatest comedies of all time.
Okay, so maybe some context here is that it's a comedy, right? And what kind of genre is this?
Drama.
Drama, okay. Has anyone picked a place? Matt, please.
Crete.
Crete, okay. So maybe it'd be good to mention where Crete is if people don't know that. Okay, so any kind of relevant context here. Thank you. You can write this down if you want. And then I want you to come up with 3 key reasons for why we should do said thing. And I want them to be very different, or they just have to be distinct. And the reason with 3 is just that human beings, we love rule of 3. We love things in 3s. So Crete, that might be, I don't know, it could be food, people, nature, boom, 3 different reasons. Is there any that come to mind?
Food, people, sunshine.
Sunshine. Okay, the weather. Great. Okay. And for a movie, it might be something else. I don't know, Al, can you think of a few reasons?
It challenges the status quo.
Big words. Love that. Okay.
Overcomes adversity.
Okay.
And affirms positivity.
Okay. Okay. So let's take on the overcomes adversity. That's about the movie, right?
Yes.
But why should we watch the movie? So remember your overall message is, we need to watch the movie. So how does that tie into that? Is it because it's inspiring?
It's hugely inspiring, yeah.
Okay, so maybe the second point, it is inspiring because it shows about overcoming adversity. Do you see how there's like a little bit of a point as to sticking to the overall message? So for anyone else in the room, thanks, great example, Al. It might be useful to kind of see how does that stick into the overall message? Like be really ruthless. Does this actually add and stick to the message? Okay, thank you. Next one. We hear about storytelling a lot, especially in e-commerce, customer stories, our own stories. And I think, again, it's a buzzword that's thrown around a lot. But I'm just going to simplify it and say, I want you to come and share your personal story. So imagine you're in ChatGPT. ChatGPT cannot make up this story because it's your story. It will only help you if you tell it your story. But let's say Matt has a beautiful memory of Crete and specifically the sunshine, maybe a beautiful sunset, something where he can really paint a picture for us. Or maybe with this movie, Al, you have a tradition where you watch this movie every year, or you have a favorite memory of it, or it has inspired you to do something in your life, you know? So something where essentially we cannot go on Wikipedia and get that information, but it will add nuance and depth and personality to your presentation. Make sense? Okay? I'm not seeing anyone write this down except for Lucy over here, who's doing a great job, my star student. But okay, cool. We're gonna move on to the last point, which is, what do you want us to do now? What do you want us to remember and take away? Where can we watch this movie, Al? What's the best time to visit Crete, Matt? Okay, so just like an actionable thing. Okay, I see a lot of people who have this in their minds. That's fine. You wait until I get you up on stage, Al. No, I'm kidding. Okay, great, thank you. I want you to look at your notes now, if you have any, and then I want to say congratulations, because you've essentially built your first and very simple structure. So I'm a big fan of this structure. It's just an introduction, 3 points, and a conclusion. And the beautiful thing about the story is that it can probably fit into any of these points. So you might have a beautiful moment that you can introduce us into the introduction, or it'll fit really nicely in with point 1, or maybe it's like a zoom out in the conclusion. Yeah? So I think a lot of people overcomplicate structure. Sometimes you can go to conferences, not this one though, because it's amazing, but sometimes there's death by PowerPoint, right? So the slides just keep going and you have no idea where you are in the entire journey. You're like, am I on slide 1 out of 50, or is there like 3 left, you know? So being able to have a really clear structure helps your audience so much. And it helps you as well, because let's say, you know, the slides don't work or you can't see the notes on your page. Having a clear structure will really help. So I'll ask you, Al, now. Obviously, you haven't written anything down because you're a terrible student. But I'm going to ask Lucy up here. You're not going to do anything, I promise. Don't worry. Can I ask you what your prompt was?
The movie one. No, series. Sorry.
Series. And what would you sell us?
So there's a series called Brassic on Sky/Netflix.
Okay.
I can hear some chuckles if anyone.
Is it funny?
It's the best kind of combination of comedy and drama.
Okay. Okay. And well, now I'm going to ask the question I asked Al earlier, but if I were to ask you before to come up without your beautiful skeleton now, would it be a particularly kind of structured presentation?
I'm quite organised,
okay, Slade.
But it would probably be more than 3 points.
Okay, so looking at your structure now, if I were to ask you to come up, like, would that feel a little bit more like you have something tangible? This is very leading questions, but...
Yeah, it would, now that I've got 3 points, it would stop me from rambling.
Right, so less rambling, more structure, more concise. And the beautiful thing is, if you have these notes, you can see that you can probably make this a 1-minute pitch, or you can make it 10 minutes, because you could add more juice to each point, right? But it would still be concise and interesting, because that sounds like an interesting show. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. I hope that was kind of helpful as a way to think about how you do presentations, really just bringing it back to basics and simplifying it. Okay, now we're going to talk about mindset. And mindset, again, like I said, it's a huge part of public speaking because we're just being quite vulnerable. And I would like for you to be a little bit vulnerable with yourselves. You don't have to tell, I'm not going to ask the same questions, okay? If you don't want to share, you don't have to. It's a very personal moment. But if you feel comfortable, can you think of or write down 2 or 3 fears you have about public speaking? Wow, this is like the most silence I've had in this room. Okay, thank you. I hope by now you have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 fears. Not because I want you to really dig into your fears, but I'm going to try and talk to you about reframing them in a more positive light. But first, I'm going to give you a little bit of tough love, okay? Because fears, there's 2 ways around them. I can say, Dylan, that's never going to happen. You're the best. It's never going to happen. But I would be lying, and that's not very nice, okay? The second one is, how can we work on this fear, and what can we do to prevent it or to ease it? So I'm going to, does anyone remember my framework from before? What was it? P, which stands for? Preparation, mindset, and practice. Thank you. You're listening. Okay, great. So I want you to ask yourself, is this something preparation, mindset, or practice will help me with? Because it will fall into one or multiple of these buckets. Bless you. Welcome. Okay. It can be all of them. It can be all of them for sure. So I don't know if does anyone have a fear where preparation or practice will help? Please.
Yeah, just getting your message all muddled up.
Okay.
Delivering the message and you realise you've probably gone on 10 minutes when you put it in 1 minute. Succinct, less waffle, and both in preparation and practice.
100%. So a lack of clarity and wanting things to be concise and not going off tangents and rambling. 100%, and especially preparation will help with that. Having a clear structure, definitely. Did anyone else share that one, or did they have something else? Dylan?
So like the tech not working, like the slideshows, right? So preparation, practice.
Yeah.
Because you can test the tech out because it's not something somewhat you can control, right? So to speak, but having this much preparation, making sure that you've got a backup, you practice how the animations work, if there's animation aspects.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, to be fair, mindset might also be a good one in this moment because it's very, immediate. Like, what do you do in the moment and how are you stressing out about that? Anyone else? Katie?
I have one on mindset. So I generally love public speaking, but recently I haven't told anyone I'm running a marathon at the moment. And it is absorbing my thoughts. I've not really experienced anxiety for a long time. And then to have that because of everything that's going on, that's where my mindset sets me back, because the fear that that's going to hold me back is there. It's quite present sometimes. So I really have to tell myself that it is the power of the mind for me. So yeah, when I've got a lot of external stresses that can sometimes seep in my everyday life, so it's, I guess, balancing that.
Yeah, okay, so kind of like right now with the leading up to the marathon, then it's consuming your thoughts a little bit, and it's affecting you. Yeah, no, definitely. And that's, keep that in mind for the mindset exercise, absolutely. And I think also maybe being really specific about, like, okay, fear of failure or fear of falling short, like what does that actually mean? Because we can think of fear of failure as a really broad term, but what does failure mean? Because it's so specific to everyone. So does it mean that you're freezing or that you're rambling, or does it mean that you forget your words or whatever it is? Because the more specific you are, the more tangible actions you can take. Lucy?
Do you have many people that struggle with what you were just saying, that they try to be perfect and they want to be perfect at all of this and present perfectly, but that actually just knocks them down and makes it worse? Have you experienced that with people?
I think luckily, or even if people come to me striving for perfection, I think I try to tell them, or they know or realize that it is a process and it's gonna take time. So usually, for example, in my workshops, I try to get people to focus on one skill. So instead of saying, okay, you need to do body language and eye contact and all of these things, instead focus on one and try to incorporate that. And next time, when you feel like you've been able to do that more confidently, you can tackle the next thing. So I usually try to do it gradually. Luckily, people don't get too stressed about it. I think if you are someone who already comes to a public speaking coach, you probably already have enough kind of grace and bravery and courage to try and improve something and give yourself time to do that. So luckily not. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. I think if there is a fear that you can prevent or help out with preparation and practice, put a little P next to it, or like know in your mind that is something you can take care of before your presentation. So Katie 2 weeks before presentation or 1 week before is going to help Katie in the moment. The same with Dylan, right? If it's tech that's bothering him, then he's going to make sure he comes up 10 minutes before the presentation. But if there's any of them that are still mindset, which is, for example, as Katie mentioned, or Sarah, you mentioned one as well, that has to do with mindset, keep that in mind because that's what we're going to do now, okay? I think we have something called an inner critic. I call it an inner critic in ourselves. And we are our own worst enemies because we are so mean to ourselves. And I don't know why we allow it to happen. I'm telling you, if I had a friend who was as mean to me as I am to myself, we would not be friends anymore, okay? Blocked. But we just allow it to happen to ourselves. And especially in these situations, it's like you're hard on yourself, thinking I should have done better, should prepare better, whatever it is. So some of these fears that I hear in my work is, for example, scared of people judging them. Especially if, they make small mistakes, they'll remember if you mess up. I did this mistake and they're gonna remember it for 5 years because it's haunting me. And most people don't even remember your face, And also imposter syndrome. A lot of people feel like they might not be equipped or, capable, have enough authority to be able to talk about the topic that they're talking about. But to counteract said critic, I would like to think that we also have an inner cheerleader. So this is someone that is always rooting for you, and she has to be positive all the time because that's her job. She's a cheerleader. So let's say I'm your friend, right? We're friends. And I come up to you and I say, hey, I've been asked to do a speech, and I'm really nervous because last time I messed up, it just haunted me for ages, and I'm just scared. People are just going to judge me, and I don't know, I'm just really scared of messing up. And I just feel like there are people in the audience who know way more about public speaking than I do. What would you tell me? How would you make me feel better if you were my cheerleaders?
You're amazing.
Thanks, Russ.
You might have something to say that they don't.
Yeah, exactly. I can add my personal touch. Anything else? I have 2 great friends so far.
Remember the reason you got into that? Oh, sorry, mate.
We've got 2 new friends, okay, in the bag.
Everybody's frightened of failure. So actually, they're just as frightened as the audience sometimes as you are as a presenter. Because they know if the role was reversed, they would be nervous.
100%.
So they give you more slack because they understand.
100%, yeah. Like knowing that the people in the audience are empathetic and they've been in your shoes or they don't want to be in your shoes. Definitely something there. Eloise, what about you?
Yeah, remember the reason why you're doing what you're doing in the first place and back yourself from your own credentials.
Yeah, 100%. Like there's a reason I've been asked to speak or that I am speaking. Thanks, guys. Thanks for making me feel better. This is also something that I would say to reframe it, and you're very right. I try to remind myself that the audience is actually on my side, and they're rooting for me. So they're empathetic, they're sympathetic, and right now, for example, do you want me to fail? Do you want me to? No, you don't want me to fail. Why? You would sit through 30 minutes of torture if I was doing a bad job, okay? Everyone wants you to do well, to learn something from you, which leads to the second point that even if I made a tiny mistake, like right now, let's say I had a coughing fit, which I really hope doesn't happen now because I don't have any water, and I had to run out, get water, and come back, like, yeah, that would be a little bit annoying and awkward for me maybe, but if you learned something valuable today, that is going to stick with you way more than the coughing fit, right? So it really is about providing value at the end of the day. And it doesn't matter if you're, even filler words or messing up some slides. If you genuinely are able to provide value people can take away, that will trump everything. Ooh, trigger word, sorry. Okay, last point about imposter syndrome is that in most cases, you have been asked to speak about it and you have a right to speak about it. It could be in a team update and you've been asked to update on your role or whatever campaign you're running. No one else will know that as well as you do because that's your job. You're doing it day to day. Or if you're asked to speak on a keynote, maybe you're not an expert on like your exact company structure and all of the details to do with the solution engineers and blah, blah, blah. No, but you're coming as yourself. You're not pretending to be anyone else, except in Katie's scenario where the guy is apparently, Max is apparently on the brochure. But Katie's coming as herself, and so is everyone who's as a keynote here, and they have the experience they have. So they can't pretend to be anyone else. And same goes for you, whatever presentation you're doing, whether it's internal or external. So I think really like owning that, like owning what you know and also what you don't know, and not pretending to be somebody else. So look at your fear or think about your fear and think, how can I be a cheerleader for myself? What would I say to me? So I don't know if anyone wants to share it, but you're welcome to think about it. Huh?
I'd say that.
You would say that, all of the above. Okay, that's good. Eloise.
So my fear was about, because I do in-person training as well, and my fear is that I'll add jokes in and they don't land and no one laughs. And I don't know how I can prepare or practice for that, or if I should just leave the jokes out.
Well, that's impossible because you're hilarious, so don't worry. No, I get that as well. As a fellow comedian, 100% relate. What would you say to yourself as a cheerleader then?
I don't know, that's why I'm stuck, because I'm literally going around, I'm like, just leave it out, just stop making the jokes. They're not
I
funny.
think those ones are more fun.
What's that, sorry?
I think the ones that completely fail to land are more fun, but maybe I'm a masochist.
Yeah. I mean, I can sit in that awkwardness, it's just not great for other people.
I'd say there's always a positive to a negative.
Yeah.
So you might have said it and no one else found it funny, but did you find it funny and it made you feel a bit better?
If I just start maniacally laughing, it'll be alright.
Yeah.
It's a them problem.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
My favorite one is just tough crowd, just saying tough crowd, and then that usually gets a few more giggles. But also, even if they don't laugh, that's not an indication of how funny you are or how worthy you are. Like, it's just a very normal interaction, and they're probably going to forget it, especially if they didn't laugh, you know, with all due respect. But I understand that. But yeah, mindset-wise, yeah, what would you tell me if I told a joke right now and it didn't land very well? Does that mean that you guys are going to hate me forever and you'll always think, oh God, the girl with the bad humor? No.
So you did a great talk, and that was the most memorable part.
Exactly. Your training workshops are not comedy shows. They can go for, you know, they can go somewhere else for that. And it's just a bonus if you're able to make them laugh once in a while. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, does she believe it? Do you believe it?
I do believe that, yeah.
Good, good. I'm glad. Okay, success. Okay, so thank you. Now we have talked and tackled some fears that we maybe have before public speaking. But what about in the moment when you're about to go on stage and maybe you're feeling a bit nervous in your seat, or you know, you're on stage and you're actually nervous as well. So what do you do? Have you ever had experiences like that when you're nervous? What do you do in like the 10 minutes, an hour prior, maybe the night before? Let's share some ideas, because everyone works differently.
Not eat.
What?
Not eat.
Oh, don't eat. Is that because you get nauseous?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you know yourself. Yeah.
I won't be up there doing a big thing, then I'll be trying to big stuff dinner.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I'll take you out for dinner the night before then, because then it's a very cheap bill for me. Okay, no, that's okay. That was? Thank you, thank you. It's just quick on the spot, guys, just witty like that. Okay, thank you. That's very specific and good that you know yourself and your body so well. Like some people avoid caffeine because they know that they're going to get jittery and they can't hold this thing, you know? So, okay, very good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I visualize it
Yes, tell me more. This is great.
in my mind.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know the venue often, so
Yeah.
that piece is not there. But I visualize what I'm going to say,
Yeah.
the sequence I'm going to do it,
Yes.
and I repeat that many times. So when I come on stage, I'm not nervous because I've already done this. And that's a really big superpower, I think, if you do this frequently.
100% agree, and a lot of top athletes do this as well, because it's a great way to, I don't know if yet people know about visualization, but it's essentially you can close your eyes and try to imagine whatever it is that you're about to do. And apparently the brain has a difficult time being able to tell the difference between imagination and reality. So that way you kind of close that gap, and when you actually experience reality, you have already experienced it before, and you're able to handle those nerves a little bit better and be taken less by surprise. Is that fair to say?
Works for learning new skills as well.
So, yeah, and learning new skills as well, and general confidence, absolutely, yes.
I have a counter to that, and that's
Oh.
embrace the nerves and don't over practice.
You took my point.
I think it's good to be nervous to a point. And if you're too confident, it's when things go wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, some of the energy can go when you've done it 10 times. You want to kind of hit the sweet
But
spot.
on the other hand, you can get stage fright. So it's I did
No.
public speaking for a long time, and then I had about a year where I had stage fright. It was totally freaking me out. I would go on stage, my breathing was all wrong, I could hardly start the pitch. So sometimes the visualization, it kind of helps you to do that. So everyone's different.
Exactly, everyone's different, and hopefully people around, like you can pick up some nuggets and go, oh, visualization, I've never heard of that. Maybe I'll try that and see if that's helpful for me. But visualization is also a way of practicing without practicing, because you're not actually rehearsing saying the words. It's more of a visual image. So you guys can take that offline, okay? No, but that's the whole point, is sharing ideas. And I know Katie, for example, is thinking more about incorporating visualization. So maybe you guys should talk and share some tips there. So thank you for that. And these are some examples of things that have worked for me in the past or some of my students. So visualizations are here as well. We've just tried to do a reframing exercise together, and I'm going to take you through my favorite breathing exercise, because I find that breathing is a really nice way to ground yourself if you're feeling jittery about anything or just anxious in general, which is like my entire existence. But the point about the breathing exercise is, you know when you go to sleep, right, and we have like really heavy breathing, and especially if you've slept next to someone, you'll know that they're not going falling asleep, right? It's like really deep breaths. And that's kind of what we're trying to simulate, almost telling our bodies to relax, so like doing it that way instead of the other way around. And we'll inhale through our noses, and then we'll hold it, and we'll slowly exhale through the mouth, which is where the magic happens. And if you feel comfortable, we're going to do it together in a bit, but I don't want to hear any like, okay? It's like a balloon, and there's like a small hole, and you're slowly letting out that air. So really forcing yourself to elongate that exhale. So if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes or maybe look gently down at the ground. And I will guide you as we inhale through our noses. So, and then we hold it for a few seconds. And then we exhale through our mouths slowly. Slowly, slowly. Inhale again through your nose when you're ready. Hold it for a bit. And then exhale slowly through your mouth. Letting go of all the bad energy. One last time, biggest breath you've taken all day. Hold it. And then slowly exhale as slowly as you can. When you're ready, you can open your eyes again. Okay. How do we feel? Yeah? What kind of emotions or feelings are we sat with here? What's the experience like? Ready for bed. Yeah. You've got a couch right there. No, it's just being very intentional, right? Would anyone think that this might be helpful for them? Was this a useful exercise? Yeah. Okay, cool. Just what I want to hear. I'm glad we can take this with you. It literally takes like 15 seconds, right, to do this and ground yourself. And I find that it's really helpful in any kind of situation when you're feeling nervous. So boom, preparation done, mindset done, practice. And because I've only got a few minutes, this will be a really brief one. But you'll probably know that there's two parts to presentations. One thing is what you say, which is basically like right now, if you transcribed everything I'm saying. But we're very visual people, and there's also an element of how you say it, how you deliver it, which is the tip of the iceberg that we were also talking about. So very briefly, I would love for you to stand up, if you will, and we're going to quickly practice some body language. Thank you. Get up, get out of your seats, if you want. And, okay, can I see some unstable, some closed body language? What would closed body language look like? Yeah, crossing your arms, hiding them maybe in your trousers behind, and then unstable. I see a lot of people stand like this, where they're crossing one leg over the other. And what does that do? Look at each other. Do you want to speak to the person who's looking at you like this the whole time? I know, it can give off, a little bit of punishment vibes or something, like you're in trouble. Okay, what does open and kind of stable body language look like? Yeah, I like that. We're seeing the feet are hip width apart. Try and like anchor in both feet if you can. And then what are we doing with our hands? Do people like using their hands when they speak? Yeah. So we've got this area. So if you keep your hands above your hip, it's kind of this zone of influence. All of a sudden, things that I'm doing with my hands don't look as weird anymore. But if I keep them down here, that looks a little bit weird, right? So if you are new to hand gestures, but it's something you want to incorporate, you can try and keep them above your hip line, just at all times. Just think, I'm going to show my hands. Apparently, it signals to the other person that I'm not dangerous. You can see the palms of my hands. So I'd love for you to find someone that you can quickly talk to about. Maybe tell them about a highlight from today. So just anyone in the room, and practice using your hands as you speak. Don't overthink it. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope everyone got a chance to practice with your hands a little bit. I know it might seem a bit unnatural for some people, but it really is just one way to express yourself, right? Like if I'm saying here, I'm so excited to be here today, versus I'm so excited to be here today. It's the same voice, same tone, but adding my hands is just a little bit of oomph, So it's another way to express yourself. So thank you for indulging with me. Okay, one last exercise. Some people are very soft-spoken and they might not be able to project as well. So I thought we could do a little vocal exercise. So I want you... What?
I'm Brian and so's my wife.
Okay, I'm not English enough for this. Okay, we're just going to say a simple sentence, and we're going to make it louder as we go along. Okay, so this is just to feel what it's like to speak at different volumes. So we're going to do an affirmation together. Whisper to yourself, I am amazing. I am amazing. Can you hear yourself? I am amazing. Okay, now say it to yourself. I am amazing. Okay, now look at someone and tell them you're amazing. Okay, now look up at the ceiling and tell the ceiling. Like, imagine you're filling up the whole space saying, we are amazing. We are amazing. Can you hear yourself? Say it one more time. We are amazing. Do you feel how your throat is just, getting a little bit more power now? Okay, now I want you to tell me, you're amazing. You're amazing. Yes, I am. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. You're welcome to sit down now. I really appreciate you taking part of this with me and, hopefully being able to use your voices in different ways now. It's actually come to the end of it for me, and we are perfectly conveniently leading into networking drinks now. So although, this practice part is usually like an hour long in my workshops, I've really tried to condense it for you, and I will leave the rest of the practice to you. So public speaking is very much about, being uncomfortable, being comfortable in the uncomfortable, and pushing yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, being a little bit braver. So in the networking drinks, if there's someone that you haven't talked to or a conversation you maybe want to be a part of, then I hope you feel just a little bit inclined to be a bit more confident and go up and join, because everyone here is really welcoming. And that is all from me today. Thank you so much. Q&A. Also, how was that? Was that okay? Was that okay? Getting some nods. Okay, cool. Yes, please.
You said fears. Now, one of my fears would be standing up there, like you said, about if there's somebody that professes to be more of an expert on a subject than you, or being asked a question. You can't prepare for a question you don't know maybe what is coming.
Yeah.
Have you had to deal with that in the past, or how would you handle? And it's not necessarily heckling, but some self-professed experts in the same room.
Yeah, definitely. I've had it both now as like in the field of public speaking, where someone has asked me a question and I just maybe don't have an immediate answer, I don't have experience with it. But I'll try and give you an example from my e-commerce times back in the day. So I remember doing a presentation on B2B on behalf of BigCommerce, and it was a room full of B2B veterans, like sitting there with their distributors, manufacturers, and all of that. And there was a really specific question about like APIs or something, and I did not have my solutions engineer with me, so I did not know what they were asking. But I think my first instinct, which is what I ended up doing, is I actually just asked him the question back. So I thought like, oh, that's such an interesting question. What do you think? And then he ended up talking for like 2 minutes because he had strong opinions about it, which was really helpful because that gave me more context and information that I could then latch onto, and someone else in the audience had something to say. So I think sometimes, depending on the context, you don't always have to be the expert, but you can be a facilitator or a sounding board. And oftentimes people ask questions because they're interested, right? So that person actually ended up becoming interested in the solution, and we could take it more offline with my solutions engineer, thank God. So yeah, less heckling and more like just maybe also a mindset thing, like people are coming with a sense of curiosity, and not because they want you to not know the answer, they just genuinely are curious to know what you're saying. But did you have any kind of specific thing in mind? I don't know your background.
No, not at all. I think a similar scenario to you, but I guess it's the fear, I guess, of losing control of your audience. In that it's good. I completely agree, and I like that. I've written it down, but asking it back because you're empowering that person and kind of silencing them at the same time. But it's also then maintaining control of the narrative that this is your presentation, isn't it? In that sense.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's great. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thanks. Did I answer that question well? Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay.
I think there's a thing as well, right, where you don't have to have all the answers, do you?
Yeah,
Exactly. And you can always say, I don't know the answer to that, but I can definitely put you into just someone that can answer that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even a skill in presenting. Even if you're sort of, pitching for work, or you're in a difficult, we were talking earlier, Scott, about the marriage. Yeah, that's right. No, we were talking earlier about, having to present to your board about, certain results, and they asked you a question, you didn't have the answer straight away. And it's okay to not know everything, I think. And because as much as many of us are experts in our field, you can't know everything. And that's okay, people will forgive that, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's a good insight, thank you.
Any other questions for the amazing Emily?
Me again.
Okay.
I know, straight away there, I've opened with I know that when I public speak that is my thing that I fall back on. Any techniques to avoid slipping into those nuances that your habits, if you like?
Yeah, I think four things. One thing is knowing what to say, right? Practice. So one thing is conversation, another thing is presentations. In presentations, you can almost fully eliminate filler words if you have practiced and you know what you want to say. Number 2 is pacing. So if you're someone who tends to speak too fast, then you might be speaking faster than you think, and so you don't actually know what you're about to say, and that's why you hesitate. Number 3 is, gosh, now I've forgotten it, and my words are freezing. Number 3 is come to me, and I will sort you out, and we will practice it together. But no, it's genuinely, if you know what to say. Oh, the last one is replacing it with silences. So instead of reverting to it's about maybe feeling more comfortable in not saying anything at all. Because having, again, like that silence is kind of fresh breath, fresh air. And I personally think it's a sign of a confident speaker if you are able to have a silence there. And it's quite nice for the audience to get that break too. So practice, pace, and replace it with silences.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I find the hardest thing to do is to be the warm-up kick, or the person doing the introductions, and knowing when to stop, and when to realise no one wants to listen to you, but the clever people that are coming on afterwards. So what's your advice for that?
Can you tell me more about this warm-up act? Like, are you also doing a keynote on something interesting?
Generally not.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because I have a history of, for example, at university being involved in the physics class.
Okay.
Introducing famous physicists.
Uh-huh.
No one ever wanting to hear from me, but just the person coming on afterwards. And knowing that you've got to speak for 30 seconds or 2 minutes or 5 minutes introducing some very intelligent Nobel laureate is scary as hell, because no one wants to hear from you.
Yeah, well, that sounds like an amazing privilege. So well done. That's pretty cool that you've been able to introduce them. But if you were able to condense it into 2 minutes, then I think most people can accept that. But if you were trying to do your own little thing for 10 minutes before they come on, I'd probably be hating a little bit too.
But these guys have done a great job of introing just enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Even cheerleader.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
What's the skill? How do you practice that?
Matt?
I wasn't expecting to answer. I don't know. I'm just an idiot. I just try and keep people smiling. And just do the important part, which I think is just.
Yeah, brevity is your friend.
Trying to say Emily and not get that mixed up. It's simple things like that, just really nailing people's names and stuff.
I think it's also knowing your role, right? Like, what is actually expected of you? Are you just going to introduce them and give a little summary of, when they receive their Nobel Prize or what they do? Or are they going to do that themselves a little bit as well, so that there's no repetition? And just as short as possible. Like, I genuinely think that being concise is one of the most important things ever, because we live in an attention economy and there's a million things people could be doing. So being able to be, being ruthless, looking at your script or your bullet points and saying, is this really important? Like, do I need to say this? Are they gonna, cover this? And then no. In this case, it just sounds like Matt is, introducing the next speaker, and then we'll take care of the rest. And he's just there to do the transitions, making sure that we're coming on stage and stuff. So, but it sounds like you've done a great job.
Thank you. I think, that's a great way of putting it. Know your role, and it's time gated anyway, or at least it should be. We've had a really tight schedule today, so we're really grateful that most of our speakers, held to schedule, and that makes my life easy because I don't have time to waffle on too much. It's just a case of doing my job and getting out there.
Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Otherwise, you come see me, okay? Okay.
I'm sure this is going to be one of the warmest claps of the whole day. Please, everybody.
Aww, thank you.